How many times have you woken up feeling trapped in an existence that silences who you really are? That suffocating routine that drains your energy day after day, turning each dawn into a faded reflection of the previous one. Without vibration, without purpose, without the freedom to be authentically you. I can hear your thoughts now. This is how things are for people like us. I can't change that. But I want to reveal something that perhaps no one on your journey has had the courage today. It's not the world that limits you. It's the chains you yourself have accepted to carry. Chains forged by heteronormative expectations, by metaphorical closets, by diluted versions of your true essence. These invisible shackles keep you captive, confined in a seemingly safe zone but suffocating, preventing you from blooming in all your rainbow splendor. How long will it take? Will continue to exist in a reality that does not celebrate its authenticity. In this journey that we will share, I will show you how to completely reprogram your existence, freeing yourself from everything that keeps you paralyzed in a world determined to fit you in. And no, I am not suggesting that you physically disappear or deny who you are. Is quite the opposite. I'm talking about taking that courageous leap toward a profound metamorphosis that honors every fragment of your unique identity. We will use practical principles and Stoic philosophies that have crossed generations and resonate with all of us, regardless of how we identify or who lives in our hearts. These are liberating teachings. 6 powerful tools to shatter the chains of heteronormativity, release the weight of a past that may have forced you to diminish yourself, and design a life that is genuinely yours, an existence where you can shine in all your colors, without filters and without justification. You who have faced judgmental looks, who have had to defend your own existence, who have fought for the fundamental right to simply be, are you prepared to unlock your true potential when you break through these barriers? When you embrace your truth with pride? Let's start this transformation. And trust me, this is just the beginning of a journey that will transport you to horizons that seemed unattainable. Step 1. Recognize your inner truth. Picture this scenario. You are in your personal haven, seemingly in balance, navigating the existence you have meticulously constructed within the boundaries you have deemed safe for someone in our community. Suddenly, you notice small leaks in the ceiling of your reality. Something is deeply out of alignment. Perhaps it is that suffocating feeling of needing to modulate your expression in certain environments, that emotional relationship that survives only on the surface, or that professional trajectory that suffocates your creativity. What is your reaction? Instead of investigating the source of this emotional infiltration, you choose to disguise. You convince yourself while pretending normality, as if this dissonance were not significant. After all, people like us have been conditioned to accept crumbs of happiness, right? Yet as time passes, the water persists. The foundations of your authenticity weaken. The structure that protects your true identity begins to crumble, and you continue to mask, applying another layer of conformity, another artificial smile, another declaration of "I'm fine," when in reality your essence is begging for freedom. Reflect. How many times have you repeated this pattern? How many times have you dimmed your brightness so that you don't upset the status quo? How many times have you sacrificed your truth on the altar of social acceptance? Let's be transparent. It is impossible to restore what you refuse to see. The cracks in its authenticity, the infiltrations in its expression, the fractures in its fullness. Nothing dissolves simply because you chose to ignore it. Recognizing that something is not aligned is not a sign of weakness. For those of us who have already gone through countless challenges to exist, is a revolutionary act of self-love and the first fundamental step to reconfiguring your existence. The time has come to drop the masks and start transforming what really matters, to stop camouflaging who you are and start celebrating every dimension of your life. Identity. Believe me when I share, you do not walk this journey alone. I also interpreted the recognition of my truths as surrender to the voices that tried to silence me. But what if you looked at this moment from a new perspective? What if this recognition did not represent defeat, but starting point of a glorious reconstruction? It is like demolishing that compromised structure in the sanctuary of your soul. It may seem like chaos at first, but it is the only path to building something new, authentic, and genuinely loving. That emptiness, that dissatisfaction that resonates when you need to hide fragments of who you really are. These are not punishments for your uniqueness. They are signs, internal alerts proclaiming, "Attention, this path does not serve you. You deserve full existence. Transform yourself now." Absorb this wisdom, for it is essential. The philosopher Epictetus taught that the mission of any being, conscious, is distinguishing what is under your control and what transcends your control. This includes your emotions, your discomfort, your perception of living a fragmented existence. These feelings are not failures. They are precious messengers. If you ignore them, these drops will become a torrent that can sweep away your happiness. But if you embrace them with courage, you can begin the restoration and build a journey that honors your authentic self. Let me share the story of Gabriel Santos. For years, he worked as a designer in a conservative corporation. Externally, everything seemed perfect. A stable career, professional recognition, a seemingly defined path. However, internally, Gabriel carried an immense burden, the weight of masking his identity, of modulating his expression, his gestures, of avoiding sharing his personal reality, while everyone else freely displayed their family lives. Confronting this reality required extreme courage. How could you verbalize that something was deeply wrong when, in the eyes of others, you should be expressing gratitude for merely being tolerated in that space? But he dared to do so. Understood that continuing to ignore these infiltrations into the ceiling of his authenticity would only further erode his emotional integrity. Gabriel needed to temporarily distance himself, disconnect from the noise of external expectations, to finally tune into his own inner voice. And it was in this sacred space it was through his honesty with himself that he discovered his purpose: to create an inclusive design agency, an environment where LGBTQIA+ talent could express themselves without the restrictions he himself faced. It was a challenging journey, full of insecurities and uncertainties, but by letting go of what didn't resonate with his soul, Gabriel managed to metamorphose into the person he was always destined to be. Not just a designer, but a catalyst for change that inspires authenticity in the creative marketplace. Do you understand the deeper meaning of this? Occasionally, to restore the fissures in your existence, it's imperative to pause, embrace your inner truth, and make yourself available for transformation, even when the world insists that you should settle for crumbs of happiness. Now I ask, what cracks are you overlooking in your own journey? Are you prepared to take this courageous leap and recognize what needs harmonizing in your life? This represents the first and most transformative act of self-care you can offer yourself. Same. Let's take this journey together, step by step. Grab a pen and paper, or create a digital note. Consider 3 fundamental dimensions of your existence: your professional occupation, your emotional connections, and how you spend your free time. Record these 3 titles. Dive deep into each dimension. In your work, do you feel free to express your authenticity? Or are you merely going through the motions, camouflaging aspects of yourself? Are you stuck in a stagnant inertia? Does your occupation energize you and allows you to shine your true light? Or do you navigate on autopilot, waiting for the day when it will be safe to fully manifest yourself? About your emotional connections. Do the people who orbit your existence embrace you unconditionally, or do you still maintain distinct personas for different social circles? Are you surrounded by genuine connections, or by dynamics that drain your vitality and diminish your essence? In your free time, do you dedicate it to experiences that truly nourish and expand your unique being, or do the days slip away in empty distractions that add nothing to your journey of self-discovery? Record your thoughts without filters and without the pressure of finding immediate solutions. You will not solve everything instantly. This first step is simply to acknowledge your current situation with absolute sincerity. Admitting that something needs adjustments doesn't make you weak, it humanizes you, it empowers you. After all, it's impossible to repair a leak if you resist exposing the compromised structure and examining its depths. This is the first step towards freeing yourself from what imprisons you and transforming yourself into someone renewed, someone authentic, someone who exists in full expression of their essential truth. And so, fellow traveler, How much longer will you persist in camouflaging your true? It's time to reprogram your existence. It all starts now, with this simple but powerful recognition. Step 2. Break your chains. You have remained so long in the shadows, so long reducing your luminosity, that when the invitation finally comes to shine in all its magnitude, you hesitate. Disconcerting, almost piercing sensation, similar to what happens when your eyes have adapted to the darkness and suddenly all the lights are turned on. You have become so accustomed to your self-inflicted limitations, your own shackles, that have become your comfort zone. Even though you sense that something is out of alignment, even though you realize that it could exist fully, you prefer to remain in the illusory safety of the familiar rather than confront the clarity that reveals everything that needs and deserves transformation. You recognize this truth. You feel it every time you retreat when you could advance, every time you remain silent when you could proclaim your truth, every time you choose invisibility when your core yearns to be authentically seen and celebrated, and yet you remain chained to external expectations. Now tell me, how much longer will you endure this limited existence before you finally act on your own liberation? Marcus Aurelius understood deeply. The soul is colored by the hues of its thoughts. Absorb this wisdom. Everything you manifest, the choices you make, and even what you decide not to do, is first born in the fertile ground of your mind, when your thoughts are saturated with insecurities, fears, or justifications for not assuming that you really are. These shackles will gradually strengthen. They are like invisible burdens that imprison you, but that you're yourself, over years of trying to adapt to the heteronormative world, have learned to carry. And the most dangerous thing is that you don't even realize that these chains are still there, limiting your authentic expression. It's like wearing transparent handcuffs and believing that you can move freely through the world. Imagine Marcus Aurelius watching you spend hours a day on social media, swiping without purpose, perhaps even toe-scape the confrontation with your own reality. He would surely ask himself, is this what really matters? Is this the best investment of your precious time in this world? As uncomfortable as it may seem, he would be absolutely right. Our true prisons are distractions disguised as seemingly harmless habits. But these habits, this comfort zone we create, are exactly what keeps you stagnant, living in the shadow of who you could be. I understand your thinking. Talking is easy, but changing seems impossible. It is not impossible. You just need to awaken your vision to see beyond the limitations you have internalized. Visualize your life as a garden full of invasive weeds. These plants are your limiting habits, the behavioral patterns that keep you trapped. Now identify, what is it stifling your authentic flourishing? Procrastination, the relentless pursuit of validation in spaces that will never fully accept you. Living on autopilot, afraid of assuming your true identity. Give it a name. What you don't name, you can't change. Now step back from the daily turmoil for a moment. Look at the bigger picture of your existence and ask yourself, what can I do today, right now, to begin converting these weeds into something that nourishes my true being? It doesn't have to be an instant revolution. Replace a limiting habit with something small, but meaningful. For example, if you spend endless hours on social media looking for a solution, validation, or escapism, decide to dedicate just 10 minutes a day to an activity that brings you closer to your authentic self. Just 10 minutes. You don't have to transform everything at once. Just start the movement. Here's the most crucial thing. Breaking these chains doesn't mean everything will become perfect instantly. It means you have made a conscious decision to move towards a more authentic life, more aligned with your true essence, with what really matters to you. Because, my dear, these shackles you carry are not intrinsic parts of your being. You can and must free yourself from them. It is time to let go of what limits you and take the first step towards the transformation that you not only deserve, but that the world needs you to manifest. Step 3. Let go of what doesn't serve you. Allow me to share something personal. For a long time, I lived my days trapped in responsibilities that didn't even belong to me. Family commitments that drained my essence instead of nourishing. It's social gatherings that didn't resonate with my true goals. Professional favors that stole not only my time, but also my entire life. precious of my authenticity. And why all this? Because I had been conditioned, like many of us in the community, to believe that I needed to compensate for my difference by being extraordinarily helpful, always available, always pleasing everyone around me. But you know what happened? It completely emptied me. I felt hollow, as if with every social interaction I was giving away pieces of my soul that I would never be able to get back. Until one day, I confronted my reflection in the mirror and asked myself directly, is this the life I want to live? Do I genuinely wish to live? Or am I simply performing the existence that others expect of me? It was then that I realized that I could not continue like this, living in the background of my own life. And do you know what I did? I disappeared temporarily. I got away from the constant noise of I let go of other people's expectations and began to focus on my own personal aspirations and needs. I freed myself from commitments that didn't add authentic value to my journey and redirected my energy toward what truly resonated with my purpose. Yes, I lost some connections in the process, but then I asked myself, were these people who genuinely celebrated my authenticity, or were they just in my life out of convenience or self-interest? In the end, letting go of what held me captive was the most important decision I could make, transformative that could have taken place. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, summed it up with a clarity I will never be able to articulate. A man who suffers before he needs to, suffers more than he needs to. That's exactly what I was doing. I was carrying emotional burdens and expectations that didn't even belong to me, as if I were sailing a boat overloaded with unnecessary baggage, without realizing that I could simply release them and move forward with ease. Seneca understood something fundamental. Not everything that takes up space in our mind or in our life needs to stay there. He practiced conscious detachment, releasing what was not useful, what did not contribute to his flourishing. This is the true act of letting go. It creates internal space to welcome what genuinely matters. You might think that living chained to external expectations doesn't impact your reality. You're deeply mistaken. Psychological studies clearly demonstrate the consequences of living to please others. A study published in the Journal of Positive Psychology found that people, especially those from marginalized groups, who consistently prioritize the needs of others over their own, are significantly more likely to develop anxiety, chronic stress, and even depression. It is a disproportionate suffering, fueled only by the fear of saying a simple no and releasing what imprisons you. An excessively high price to pay to be ignored. Don't you agree? Now honestly reflect. What relationships are you tied to solely because of fear of change? How many times have you agreed when in fact your authentic self wanted to refuse? How many times have you accepted commitments, projects, or favors simply to avoid disappointing people who may not even be equally invested in your happiness? Believe deeply. Existing under the yoke of other people's expectations is not living fully. It is a sophisticated form of imprisonment. If you're wondering how to start this transformation, here are 2 accessible steps you can implement immediately to reclaim your time and vital energy. First, start practicing saying no in low-impact situations. If someone asks you for a favor that genuinely compromises your well-being or time, respond matter-of-factly, "I'm sorry, but I can't accommodate that request right now." You don't have to elaborate on your reasons or apologize repeatedly. Just communicate your decision clearly. Firmness and dignity. Remember, every time you reject something that does not resonate with your needs, you are saying yes to your well-being and your authenticity. Second, establish clear boundaries in your relationships. Reflect on situations where you notice an imbalance, where you give considerably more than you receive, and consciously state how far you are willing to go. For example, if a friend constantly asks for your emotional support but is never available when you need it, it's time to draw the line. I value our friendship and want to support you, but I also need to honor my own boundaries and needs. Communicate your boundaries respectfully but assertively, and most importantly, honor your own boundaries first, because if you don't, no one else will. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning or giving up. It means consciously making space, for more aligned with who you truly are. It means letting go of everything that does not allow your authentic progress and preparing yourself internally to welcome what genuinely deserves your time and energy. Now tell me honestly, what are you prepared to let go of today to restart your authentic existence? The time to begin this release is now. Step 4. Move away from external noise. Your mind is like a crystal-clear mirror, capable of reflecting your true essence. But what can you see when that mirror is covered in layers of dust, chaos, and external confusion? This fog that clouds your inner clarity is made up of all the noise that constantly surrounds you. Incessant notifications, endless scrolling on social media, chatter emptied of meaning, alarming news over which you have no control, opinions on how LGBTQIA+ people should behave, dress, express themselves. This constant bombardment invades you to such an extent that you can no longer distinguish your own inner voice from this deafening chorus of external expectations and judgments. How long have you remained trapped in this whirlwind, without taking even a moment to be genuinely alone with yourself, listening to your own truth? Think about it for a moment. How many times a day do you check your cell phone without purpose? Defined. Open one social network, close another, check a message, return to Instagram, repeats this cycle infinitely. It's like existing on automatic, in a state of semi-consciousness. That never ceases. Now consider sincerely, how much of this external noise actually contributes to your growth? How much of it brings you closer to who you truly are or want to be? Probably very little. All this noise accomplishes is filling your field of consciousness with distractions that drain your life energy and keep you disconnected from your own truth. Marcus Aurelius, even though he lived centuries ago, understood something that remains profoundly relevant today: the need for inner retreat. He often stated, "and retreat into myself." For him, this retreat represented a mental sanctuary where he could disconnect from external demands and reconnect with what truly mattered in his existence. Believe me, if Marcus Aurelius lived in our digital age, he would certainly have a sign on his door saying, "Leave your cell phone here," because he would understand that constant noise is not just a simple distraction, but a significant barrier that separates you from your own essence. And it's not just about ancient philosophy or personal insight. Wellness experts digital confirm this wisdom. Disconnecting from external stimuli, even if only briefly minutes a day, can significantly reduce your stress levels, improve your ability to concentrate, and increase your overall well-being. Why? Because the constant use of devices and social media, especially for those of us in the community, who often find both support and toxicity in these spaces, not only fragments your attention, but also depletes your mental reserve and takes you away from your center. It's like offering your brain a moment of deep breathing, a space to process experiences and reflect clearly on your path. Now be honest. When was the last time you allowed yourself this essential luxury? Don't you think it's time to reclaim this sacred space of connection with yourself? Let's make something very clear. Getting away from the noise does not mean completely isolating yourself from it. Or fail to inform ourselves about issues that are important to our community, meaning consciously choosing when and how you connect, intentionally creating spaces where you can hear your own wisdom without the constant interference of external voices, opinions, and judgments. Because this is essential, your inner truth needs to be heard first. Here are 2 transformative practices to start this process. First, try a daily 5-minute retreat. Turn off all devices, close the door, and allow yourself to simply exist in silence. You don't need to formally meditate or follow any specific technique. Just breathe consciously, embrace your thoughts, and focus in your inner self, without judgment, and allow yourself to be fully present with yourself. Believe deeply, these 5 minutes have transformative potential that you can't even imagine. It's like temporarily silencing the external noise to start listening to what your authentic life really needs and yearns for. Second, implement a conscious information diet. Determine when and how you will connect with the digital universe. Check your notifications only at specific times of the day. Drastically reduce the time spent consuming news and debates that only drain your energy without offering practical solutions. This is not only to save you precious time, but more importantly, to reset your mind and create an internal space where you can finally start listening to your own self. Truth, without interference. Because every time you consciously choose to step away from the noise, you move closer to the clarity needed for your authentic transformation. Every time you step away from the external turmoil, you connect more deeply with yourself. It is in the nourishing silence that you truly hear what your authentic life needs. And if you genuinely want to reset your existence, you need to start by deactivating the chaos that clouds your inner vision. Step away from the deafening noise and create a sanctuary where you can connect with what truly matters on your journey. Are you ready to clean that mirror and see your true essence clearly? Because transformation begins precisely here, in this act of courage to disconnect from the outside, to reconnect with yourself. Step 5. Create your personal sanctuary. Have you ever wondered how many times you felt like the entire day doesn't belong to you? Between the demands of work, the incessant messages, and the expectations of others, often amplified, for those of us in the LGBTQIA+ community who feel pressure to constantly prove ourselves, do you not have any moments that are truly yours? You move from one commitment to another, solving crises without time to breathe consciously or listen to your own desires and intuitions. It's like trying to complete a marathon in the middle of a merciless storm, without a temporary shelter, without a safe place where you can pause and regain your center. It's time to change this reality. All of us, especially those of us who grew up having to hide fundamental aspects of who we are, need a space, a sanctuary that is uniquely ours, where we can temporarily distance ourselves from external expectations and reconnect with our essential truth. Virginia Woolf understood this need deeply. The brilliant writer stated that every person, regardless of who they are, needs a room of their own, a space both physical and mental to create, reflect, and express their authenticity without filters to external judgments. No matter your identity, gender expression, or professional occupation, this space sacred can represent the crucial difference between feeling perpetually alienated or rediscovering your own centrality. And Virginia was absolutely right. I myself witnessed this transformation happen in an extraordinary way. Let me share a story. I watched Renato transform a small corner of his apartment into something truly special. It was a modest space, nothing elaborate, just a colorful rug, a scented candle, and a small plant. But that space was sacred to him. Every morning, Renato dedicated just 5 minutes to practicing mindfulness in that small sanctuary. He maintained this ritual daily, without exception. The most fascinating thing was to observe how gradually that simple ritual began to transform him profoundly. Renato became visibly more centered, more authentic in his interactions, more present in each moment, as if those brief daily minutes in his sacred space anchored his entire existence. This inspired me deeply. If he could create a transformative haven in such an unassuming corner, why couldn't any office do the same? Seneca firmly believed that nothing is so useful as retiring into oneself, and he could agree more fully with this wisdom. It's not about permanently escaping reality, but about momentarily disappearing from the whirlwind to return to yourself. To connect with what truly matters on your unique journey. Without this regular retreat, you will continue to move forward on autopilot, without full awareness, without knowing if the path you are following truly resonates with your inner truth. Want to create your own sacred space? It's more accessible than you think. Find a corner in your home that you can transform into your sacred space. It doesn't have to be perfect or filled with things. It could simply be a corner with a vibrant plant, a notebook to record your thoughts, or a scented candle, something that inspires serenity and connection with yourself. Once you find that special place, dedicate 15 minutes a day to completely disconnecting from the outside world. Turn off all devices, close the door, and simply allow yourself to exist in silence. Write down your uncensored thoughts, reflect on your journey, and/or simply breathe consciously, noticing each sensation. These 15 minutes are a priceless gift you give yourself, a way to temporarily step away from the external noise and return to what truly matters in your existence. Do you know what this sacred space will provide you? It will not only be a refuge to momentarily escape the chaos, but a sanctuary where your ideas will naturally clarify, where your priorities will reorganize fluidly, and where you can connect deeply with your authentic purpose. It will be the beginning of a profound transformation, the moment when you begin to consciously release everything that no longer serves your growth and open up inner space to welcome what genuinely resonates with your essence. Now, honestly reflect. What space in your home will you transform into your sanctuary? Guys, it could be a corner of the living room, a space in your bedroom, or even a small corner on the balcony. How will you create that special place to temporarily step away from the outside noise and begin your deep transformation? Step 6. Move forward with intentional steps. Imagine this scene. After months of silencing your true identity, immersed in the inertia of conformity, you suddenly decide it's time to embrace yourself completely and revolutionize every aspect of your life simultaneously. You come to work, determined, announcing your authentic self to everyone, completely redesigning your wardrobe, changing your entire social circle, and reshaping your family relationships, all in one impulsive move. At first, you feel filled with courage and liberating energy. But just a few days later, the complex reality of these simultaneous changes begins to weigh on you. The varied reactions, some welcoming and some hostile, the pressure of sustaining so many changes at once, and the emotional exhaustion make each next step exponentially more difficult. And what often happens? You retreat, feel overwhelmed, perhaps even regret the approach, and in some cases, you're turned to the old comfort zone of silence, not for lack of authenticity or courage, but because you have tried to transform everything simultaneously, without respecting the natural process of adaptation that big changes require. This all too familiar situation reflects exactly the pattern that many of us in the community LGBTQIA+ applies to our personal transformation goals. We want to change everything, instantly. And when reality confronts us with the complexity of the process, we end up exhausted, frustrated, and sometimes more deeply hidden than before. Trust me, there is a significantly more sustainable approach to this journey. As Seneca wisely observed, no wind is favorable to those who do not know where they are going. And, complementing this wisdom, he also understood that a boat does not reach its destination in a single impulsive movement. First, one adjusts the sails with precision, then one follows the established course, and gradually, step by conscious step, one approaches the desired port. How often, especially for those of us in the community who often feel an urgency to make up for lost time living inauthentically, do we try to make radical transformations simultaneously? We crave immediate results, and when we don't achieve them quickly, we abandon the process, interpreting the lack of instant transformation as ultimate failure. It's as if we want to transform our lives overnight, forgetting that every significant transformation begins with a seemingly insignificant, deeply transformative step. This happened to me when I decided to come out and embrace my identity. I determined, with overconfidence, to reveal myself to all circles of my life simultaneously: family, work, childhood friends, religious community, all in a short space of time. It seemed like a liberating plan, didn't it? Completely wrong. The middle of that tumultuous week, I was absolutely emotionally exhausted, processing mixed reactions, answering invasive questions, dealing with unexpected rejections, and simultaneously trying to support those who needed time to process this new information. Instead of feeling finally free, I was paralyzed by the emotional overload. This experience reminded me of a seemingly simple but deeply meaningful scene from a film I watched some time ago, starring Max, a curly-haired endowed with the ability of verbal communication, and his tutor, Lucas. After a long walk in the city, they returned exhausted to their apartment building and had to climb several floors to reach their apartment. Max was visibly exhausted, and, in his verbalized thoughts to the audience, he expressed, "I just want to get to the top, throw myself on the bed and fall into the deepest sleep." However, he immediately corrected himself wisely. I can't just jump to the final destination. I need to advance gradually, step by step, if I really want to reach the top. It seemed like a simple observation, didn't it? However, at that precise moment, I understood that this message contained a universal truth applicable to our journey of authenticity. We cannot eliminate essential steps in the process of transformation. There is no possibility of reaching the top of the ladder with a single ambitious leap. It is necessary to climb consciously, step by step, respecting the natural process of each revelation, each change, each new authentic expression of oneself. It is curious to reflect that such profound wisdom can emerge from a canine character and a cinematic narrative. However, it represents exactly the message that we all need community we need to internalize, because this is how authentic life develops. There are no magic shortcuts, but each small step you take consciously brings you progressively closer to your full existence. Constantly remember, each step is significant. Just persist in the gradual ascension. Now, recalling our earlier conversation about creating your sacred space of inner connection, imagine that this is your next transformative goal. How will you implement this change in a sustainable way? Start with just 5 minutes today. Tomorrow, try extending it to 7 minutes, then increase to 10 minutes. Progress gradually, respecting your unique pace, without overloading your system with unrealistic expectations. The truly transformative element is not the amount of time you initially dedicate, but the consistency with which you honor that commitment to yourself. Each time you take this sacred moment for yourself, pause as you complete it and genuinely ask yourself, how do I feel now after this moment of connection? Record your insights if you wish, even if it's a seemingly simple observation like, today I felt more centered and present. This small ritual of recognition represents a powerful way to honor your conscious effort. To remind yourself that you are gradually moving forward on your journey of self-discovery and transformation. And don't forget to celebrate every step forward, no matter how small it may seem at first. For example, mark these special days on your calendar with a vibrant color that represents your progress, or treat yourself to a small symbolic gift after completing a week of consistent practice. Think of each step as a wave that propels you forward. In isolation, it may seem small, but together, it forms a current that will carry you to your authentic destiny. This is how you restart your life, not with one giant leap, but with intentional steps that day after day create something new and more aligned with your true essence. Now tell me, what will be the first intentional step you will take today to begin transforming your life? The time to start is now.